Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Lynn Cullen, political junkie, I guess, since I actually watched that ridiculous clown show in the House of Representatives yesterday. I felt like I needed to watch it. Oh my God. My God. Do the people who vote for Republicans ever follow up after the vote to see what they've wrought? The clown car left the White House 2 years ago. But man, we got a clown caravan parked at the U.S. House now. Unbelievable. The people in the Republican Party are incapable of governing. I have been saying for years and years and years and years, they don't believe in government. They only get into government to dismantle and or destroy it. And damn, they're doing a pretty good job. That they got down. Unbelievable. So I don't even know where to start. I mean, I looked at them jawing with each other. I looked at the performative aspect of it. I looked at some of these people who I consider, well, I remember yesterday using the adjective loathsome before saying the name of Jim Jordan. And there he was yesterday. Supposedly backing up Kevin McCarthy, and in so doing, getting himself votes. These people are beyond belief. Beyond belief. And it is an embarrassment. I'm glad to see that the Republicans are embarrassed at what happened yesterday, and who knows what will happen today. Who knows? Maybe somehow somebody's figure out a resolution to this. If you haven't been paying attention, nothing like this has happened for 100 years. You know, it's interesting. We're living, if you've ever wanted to time travel, I mean, it seems to me we're living in a time when we keep hearing things like hasn't happened in 100 years. Like a pandemic, like storms and other horrors of nature. And now this. The inability of a party supposedly in power to even elect one of its own to a leadership position. I don't know. My guess is that Kevin McCarthy is not going to be the Speaker of the House. That's my guess. This small group that clearly will not allow it. And I heard a few people call them, and I had to go look it up. This is me again with my words. I have never been sure how to pronounce it. I think I always said nihilist, but more people said nihilist yesterday. And I went and looked it up, and it's up in the air. It depends on who you talk to. But nihilism. And for those of you who aren't sure what it means, nihilism is essentially believing that everything is meaningless. I think. That's just my spin. A nihilist believes in nothing. I mean, I cannot imagine a more hopeless way of viewing life, that nothing has meaning. And the group of the so-called Freedom Caucus was called a group of nihilists by more than one commentator. I don't know that they're nihilists as much as I think there's even differences among them. But when you look at some of them, and like Boebert and Gates, and they just seem to be about, and they're narcissists above all. They need to draw attention to themselves. I mean, there's bizarre things that are going on that Marjorie Taylor Greene, who I find one of the most frightening humans right now in a position of power, is in this, I don't know what to call it, in this particular clown show, is playing the stateswoman. And she's doing it, obviously, as a political calculation. She's throwing in her lot with McCarthy, thinking she'll get a lot. She will get a lot of power, no matter what. You got to watch that one. She's a QAnon, and she's getting power, truly getting power. Anyway, hitching her, whatever. What is it? You hitch your star, you hook your whatever. Anyway, attaching herself to Kevin McCarthy seemed to be the thing to do. I'm not so sure that's the thing now. When you got a lot of these extremely political and ambitious Republican members wondering now if they've backed the wrong horse. These are Trump backers. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Elise Stefanik, that woman who clearly will sell her soul, depending on whichever way the winds are blowing, to give her some power. What awful people. Just horrible humans. Party? Country? No, me. They have no allegiance to anything but themselves. Again, there's a kind of emptiness there that just blows my mind. And so Trump, I guess, has put out one of his tweets. You can't make this up. Endorsing McCarthy again. And we'll see if that means anything. In fact, what Trump might have done with that tweet is show himself to be, yet again, incapable of backing the right horse. So this could be a big loss for him as well. I have not a clue. It'll be interesting to see. I don't know. Oh, and Gates, my God. I mean, I hate to give them, I hate to think that I'm giving them any satisfaction by following whatever it is they're up to. But Gates actually took the time yesterday. Let me see when this is dated. Yeah, January 3rd. Today's the 4th. He actually wrote a letter to the architect of the Capitol. Who knew that it's the architect of the Capitol you would write this letter to? Dear Mr. Blanton, Gates wrote, I write to inform you that the Speaker of the House office, located in the U.S. Capitol building, is currently occupied by Representative Kevin McCarthy as of this morning, the 117th Congress adjourned, and a speaker from the 118th Congress has not been elected. What is the basis in law or precedent to allow someone who has placed second in 3 successive speaker elections to occupy the Speaker of the House office? How long will he remain there before he is considered a squatter? Please write back promptly, as it seems Mr. McCarthy can no longer be considered Speaker Delegate. Sincerely, Matt Gaetz, Member of Congress. This is Republicans in power. God almighty. You can't make it up. Unbelievable. And Jim Jordan, when he gave this speech that was supposedly nominating McCarthy, I literally didn't understand half of what he was talking about because he kept talking about the Democrats. What that had to do with, saying McCarthy should be the speaker, I don't know. But he got up and talked about, the Democrats essentially as the devil intent on taking away America's freedoms. And I mean, he was, interrupted by cheers. And I kept thinking, what's he talking about? I mean, is he talking about vaccines? Is that what it is? What do they mean? I mean, when I think of America's freedoms, my God, look what they got. They can open carry, as we were talking about yesterday. They can have, more guns on their backs and pockets and hands and go to the grocery store in any state in the union practically and not be committing a crime. I don't think anybody anywhere in the world has freedom like that. So what are they talking about? The freedom to discriminate against gay people and based on race? The freedom to have their religion trump the law of the land? I don't understand even what they're talking about. And so in all these ballots that they took, the guy who had the most votes was Hakeem Jeffries. Oh, and Nancy Pelosi, who now is just a member, she's just sitting there like the rest of them. And when she initially, I guess, gave her first vote, the Democrats went wild applauding her. They stood and cheered and applauded her. And I have to tell you, the more I do read about her tenure and about her, the more impressed I am. This woman is amazing. And I do recommend watching that documentary on her that was shot by her daughter, who is a documentarian. And I believe it's on HBO. Because there's no way to watch that and not be blown away by the vigor, the sobriety, the calmness, the strength under fire. She's just mind-blowing. I mean, in the documentary, you see her, how you always see her hair's perfect. Got some beautiful clothes on. She's got those nice legs, or beautiful, little stiletto heels. And in the documentary, obviously, you see a lot of that, but you also see her in in a bathrobe coming out of the bathroom with, no makeup on, no, her hair in total disarray. You get a sense of her also at home and who she is as a mother and a wife. And it's mind blowing. I do recommend it. Sorry, please somebody tell me not to watch that again today. Although today it might get even more interesting, right? And Santos, God, I'm almost feeling sorry for him. I can't believe I just said that, but I am. He was there. He voted for McCarthy. No one would sit with him. He was sitting way in the back, all by himself. That was a long, 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 long time. And a lot of time when nothing was happening, but people, talking to each other, twisting arms, or just having fun. Mostly on the Democratic side. And no one would talk to him. I mean, how the hell is he supposed to function in that job? The end game there is interesting. And by the way, one of the things Jim Jordan and the other Republicans are apparently intent on doing once they have control is dismantling essentially the House ethics. It wouldn't be the committee, would it? Is there a standing House ethics office or something? They want to destroy it. I can't imagine why you'd want to do that if you if you were an ethical person. I don't get that, but that's one of the things they're intent on doing. Good God. As I said, to the American people, the people who vote for these Republicans, did they watch that yesterday? Did they feel good about, oh, look what we did? For the next 2 years, one of the branches of our government will be incapable of doing anything. Because if it can't even, among its majority, elect a head of that majority, how the hell are they ever going to agree on any piece of legislation? So, it's just incredible. Okay. Meanwhile, where a similar thing could have been playing out in Harrisburg yesterday, because in Harrisburg, the House of Representatives has the same kind of, somewhat of the same kind of problem, a razor-thin divide, but this one is different. We've talked about it. Right now, as of yesterday, the Republicans had more seats than the Democrats, but as soon as some 3 special elections are held, it is assumed, and understandably so, that the Democrats will have control, razor-thin control. But yesterday in Harrisburg, they had to elect a speaker. And the Republicans, who had, I think, 2 more people there than the Democrats yesterday, couldn't elect one of their own, which is to say, I guess, that some Republicans, I'm not sure, that the reporting by some scab for the Post-Gazette did not clarify for this reader what exactly happened, that they couldn't put one of their own through. And so they ended up striking a deal with a Democrat. And he won. Enough Democrats voted for him and Republicans. So he now is the Speaker getting his name. And he said, I guess he must have promised the Republicans that he would not govern as a Democrat. He wouldn't even caucus with them. He wouldn't caucus with the Republicans either. He said, vote for me and I will hold the seat and I will be neutral, which I think is a good thing and a smart way to deal with this. The Republican who had thought he was going to get the job and the Democrat who thought she was going to get the job did not get the job. But this guy said, I'll be an independent. I will have the job. And as soon as those elections take place, I imagine there'll be another vote for speaker and I assume the woman who had intended, and I'm blanking on her name too, to be the speaker will be. What do I know? His name is Mark Rosie, or Rosie, don't know how it's pronounced, Berks County. So, no idea. But at least, and that's a dysfunctional body too, because it's been controlled by Republicans. At least they did not embarrass themselves like the national Republicans are. The New York Times said this about the crazies, the Gates, Boberts. Their agenda is mostly to defund, disrupt, and dismantle government, not to participate in it. Well, yes. And I suppose there are people who vote for these people because they also have this sense, just tear it down. It's a pretty childish view, but just tear it down. They never have an idea of what to do after you destroy it. Destruction is always easier than construction. I mean, anyone who's ever built a thing, like a little log thing precariously for days and days, putting this piece here and that piece there, knows that it only takes a millisecond to destroy it. A well-placed finger, a kick, it's gone. Destruction, easy. And these are destructionists. And the Times points out, what I hardly knew, that whoever ends up winning, oh, God help them, this leadership position, McCarthy or anyone else, they are going to be in a living hell. Because there ain't no way to lead this clown conference. There's no way to lead these clowns. So that'll be it. I mean, it is really, I think it's increasingly conceivable that they'll elect someone that's not even there. Because you can. Like some former, I know I've heard some names floated out there, like some congressman who retired, who everybody kind of liked or something, or is, again, a relatively neutral guy, that they could elect somebody like that. Bring them back. Unbelievable. How many times have I said unbelievable today? Is anybody counting? Faith. So I went for a walk with my dog last night, as we do. And it's garbage night in my neighborhood. It was. And a lot of people had put their trees, their Christmas trees, on the curb. And my dog loved it. I mean, my God, look, there's another tree I never saw before. And I can smell, oh my God. I mean, every tree we stopped at. And it gave me an opportunity to look at the trees. And most were of the same variety. And they were very lovely. And they were all about the same size. I'd say they were like 6 feet, 5 to 6 feet tall, 7 maybe. I'm not good at estimating. Pretty, not huge, but nice, compact, beautiful trees. And there was something, I started to feel really unhappy. They were beautiful, young trees. And I was unhappy because earlier in the day, the same street I was walking on had been partially blocked because these big trucks were there cutting older trees down. My God, they took about 8 big old, not particularly healthy trees, but took them down. And I was freaking out because I see a lot of trees being taken down. I do not see a lot of trees being planted. For every tree I see taken down, I don't see a tree being planted. No way. And again, I wonder, what are people thinking? My neighborhood is being defenestrated. No, that's not right. Does that mean de-windowed? I don't know what word I'm looking for. If you figure it out, let me know. So I was looking at, there were so many felled trees yesterday in the neighborhood and these beautiful evergreens. And I thought, and so what? You're brought into this world. You're chopped down. You're brought into an environment in which you will surely die. Things are hung on you, presents put under you, and then you're denuded of your decoration and thrown to the curb. And I just felt sad. And then I had a brilliant idea. Why don't, and please help me here. I'm serious about this idea. I got it in my head and I can't get it out now. Why don't people at Christmas, I guess because it's more expensive, wouldn't it be? Why would it be? Instead of cutting the tree, you bring a tree that is still potted. You don't sever it from its roots. You bring the roots and the tree in it would be a larger container, so this makes it a little more difficult, into your home. And you do the decorating thing and the presents under the tree thing. And then when that's done, you plant it, you put it back in the ground where it will live for a long, long, long time. And do what trees do, which is good. Rather than this, it's just, and here's another thing I thought. Okay, so somebody will say, well, I don't have any place to plant it. Even if I bother to do this thing, which right now is sounding like a pain in the neck. Where do I plant it? So I had this other brilliant idea. Who knows doesn't even have to be that, well, who knows somebody who's got some land? I mean, real estate. Real estate's always a good thing to own. Who knows somebody who has real estate and ain't doing anything with it except sitting on it because real estate's a good thing to own and would be very happy to have people post-Christmas come and plant their trees on that land. And after a few years, you would have this amazing Christmas tree forest. And the person whose land it is would have even more extraordinary land. I don't know. Why don't we do things that look to the future as opposed to just the here and now and the simple and the destructive? And the garbage truck has come and gone, and all of those beautiful trees I saw last night, they've been heaved into the back with dirty diapers and garbage. And it's terrible. It's not, it's awful. I'm just saying it's awful. Okay. Can I think of something happy? Before I walk the dog, I was watching, what's that called? Finding Your Roots with Henry Louis Gates. And and it was odd because I had just watched that movie. I'm not getting the impression of me stuck in front of my television all day. Actually, yesterday I sort of was. I had watched this movie that everybody said had to watch called Knives Out, the Glass Onion. How do I know? It's the second in a series. Daniel Craig is plays the detective. And I had started watching it with my son a few nights ago, and about 40 minutes in, we both looked at each other and said, yeah, and we turned it off. But I went back and decided I'll finish it, see what happens. Well, I still say it got a little better. So I know a lot of people rave about it, so fine. I mean, it's just, it's whatever, float your boat. But the lead, other than Craig, was the actor Ed Norton. And how odd that I had just seen him in the movie, and then I turn on Finding Your Roots, and there's Ed Norton, and they're finding his roots. I mean, and his roots are amazing. I mean, he's related to everybody. Everybody. In fact, I think the entire country is essentially populated by his kin. I don't know. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But the thing that blew me away, and what are the odds of this? And they totally proved it. His great, 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 great grandmother. Those were all the right greats. Was Pocahontas. Pocahontas. I mean, can you imagine? Wow. I just had to share that. Those of us that do not have the ability to trace our ancestry back, because Ed Norton was, almost, it traces back all the way, almost constantly, on all sides to UK. So he's a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. And those of us who aren't, and those of us who are especially blacks and Jews, we don't have that ability. Usually. It's rare to trace back very far. And it's because of our shared history of horror and dislocation. So I love watching this show and seeing people's ability to trace their line back. And on some level, I think, what the hell difference does any of it make? Not really. it's not, yeah, you might be related to these people, but so what? But I guess what is it that makes it, makes you feel more connected? Something bigger than yourself? I don't know. I don't know if it matters at all. But it's nice to be able to. So social media. I talked about the fact that my son and I were watching this thing. He has always made sure that I am at least somewhat in touch with younger people's view, and also how they acquire and process information and news. And I had read an item not too long ago that said that if you look at social media, like even, whatever it is, whether it's, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, I don't know, whatever, any of those platforms, we certainly have talked a lot about the political divide that exists, for instance, on Twitter. Good God. But the article I read said that pales beside the generational divide of how older people like me and younger people use it, how they use it, what they glean from it, where they get their information. And it's, again, living in different worlds. Talk about like the loonies on the right. You think, what the hell? They're in another universe. Well, in some respects, generationally, that is happening more and more as well. So I always appreciate it when my son turns me on to something I would never see. And I'm going to suggest one of these things to you. I think a lot of you would not like it. And I found it very off-putting at first. I did not agree with the way this guy starts it out. But I think where he ends up going is very interesting. And it is a compilation of interviews and video taken from the day, I think, after the election in 2020 and January 6th. So the guy who put this together was there throughout and was very curious about understanding what people were thinking. But this is a younger guy with an unclear agenda. And I have to tell you that in it, as you watch it, I saw a lot of stuff I'd never seen before. And you do see, you're put off by the inanity of the people in the streets. And frankly, the way this guy portrays it, on both sides, often, you pretty much don't like anybody. And it's not as if all the stuff that's going on is leading to anything, again, constructive. Anyway, this thing is on HBO Max, and it's called This Place Rules. And the guy is Andrew Callahan, who has a thing on YouTube called Channel 5 News, which can be very entertaining, where he goes out and talks to people in places. And he doesn't come in with an agenda. So he ended up in this actually being on Alex Jones' InfoWars show And then he ended up being on CNN with Don Lemon. And I don't know. My son thinks this guy's kind of journalism is potentially the kind of stuff that his generation understands and eats up. And if you just want to just get out of your comfort zone, watch it. There are a few things in it that rip your heart out. There's a little boy, and you first encounter him on the street in Washington, D.C. after the election, and he is ranting. I mean, just incredibly capable rant that's flat out QAnon. But he's this little kid, and you see him spouting this insanity, and his proud father is standing behind him. And I said, my God, that's child abuse. It's child abuse. These people do this to their children, my God. And then you end up at home with these guys. They have 3 children. Yeah. And they are being schooled, homeschooled. Little girl admits she misses her friends. But they do show them, this family, after the election. I mean, after, what would it be? After January 6th. And incredibly, the father is chastened, feels betrayed, feels humiliated that all this stuff he'd been swallowing apparently didn't happen. And he very quickly backed away. And the kid was left hanging and was feeling betrayed. But at least I felt, thank God, there is a capacity for some of these people to change. I don't know. God. Anyway. Another recommendation. Talked to you yesterday about this woman suing Steven Tyler of Aerosmith for raping her repeatedly when she was underage in the 70s, and it's something that he would admit to, although he would say, "Wait, I didn't rape her. Her parents signed over legal custody of her to me." And we were talking about that. These people coming out of the woodwork now, because this law in California that allows you to sue no matter what the date, no matter how long ago it happened, is going to did expire on December 31st. And it turns out there's another case that was filed right there in the last seconds. And this is somebody whose name I recognized, an actress named Olivia Hussey. Don't know that she's done a lot since, but she is saying, and her complainant, another actor named Leonard Whiting, they were the stars of Franco Zeffirelli's movie Romeo and Juliet. And I have to tell you, that has always been my favorite, one of my favorites, actually, Shakespearean movie. Zeffirelli's Romeo and Juliet. Olivia Hussey was 15. Leonard Whiting was 16. I mean, they won awards for their portrayals. It really is well done. And I don't even remember that there was a nude scene. But there was a bedroom scene in which, according to the complaint, buttocks and bare breasts are visible. And they are now claiming, Zeffirelli's dead, they are now claiming that they're suing Paramount, that produced it, Paramount Pictures, because they're saying that they took these minor children and without their knowledge, in violation of laws regulating indecency and exploitation of minors for profit. And they're asking for hundreds of millions of dollars from Paramount. And they say that they have suffered mental anguish and emotional distress ever since. Again, I hate to say, I doubt it, frankly. I doubt it. Just 4 years ago, Olivia Hussey was asked about the film and the nude scene specifically in an interview with Variety magazine, and she was quoted at the time as saying it was needed for the film. She didn't say, I have felt emotional anguish and distress for the last 40 years. These opportunistic money grubbers, I just find this, I mean, seriously, the fact that I don't even remember a nude scene, it must have been extremely short and tasteful and whatever. So there's just another one. That was in 1968. So the timeline is similar to the woman suing Tyler. God. Man, there are people I could sue. Oh, I see some of you have written me. Why didn't I see any of these? I've got the worst. Oh, my content quit unexpectedly? That would happen. Okay. Let's see what you guys had to say. Ellen writes, I too get very upset seeing all the trees out in the trash, but short of replanting live Christmas trees, there's somewhat of a compromise available. The county and city both have Christmas tree recycling programs where the trees are made into mulch, which is then available for residents to pick up and use later. So why don't these people do that? God, people are lazy and uncaring. Gigi writes, love your tree talk. For years, we bought Christmas trees, which we could plant after the holidays. Oh my God, you did it. So we now have a forest in our yard. Oh, we've run out of room to plant anymore. So we now put lights on a large white pine, which is right outside a window. We love all our trees. Enjoy the warm weather, even if it means we're destroying the planet. Yeah. I don't think what I suggested should be considered anything but the right thing to do. That's what I think. Oh, God. Milton writes, London Christmas tree rental. There's an idea. Lets you rent a tree in a pot. You have it, then it goes back. And if you really liked it, you can have it back next year. And when the tree reaches 7 feet, it gets to retire and is planted in a forest. Yes, yes. And it's not like I want to put Christmas tree farmers out of business. I want them to rethink their business. Roger writes, nihilists? Bullshit. They're a bunch of babies going through the terrible twos. You want a cookie? No. Does your diaper need changed? No. Do you need a nap? No. Do you want democracy? No. Good thing they're not running the country. Oh. Well done, Roger. Yeah, I mean, they are saying that, in fact, every time they demand something of McCarthy and he has caved, then they say they don't bargain in good faith. Ha! Michael of the Cynics wants me, ask me, can I sue Lawrence Welk? You know what? I can't. Well, I could for sexual harassment, but I was over age. I was late 20s. And there were a lot of them. Oh, there were a lot of them. I mean, back in the day, we women were assaulted on a regular basis, which is why some of us older women are just dumbfounded at what some young women consider assault. Like when it started being like, you can't put your hand on someone's shoulder. And I thought, what? That's assault? Because I'm a toucher. I'm always touching people. That's assault. Apparently, I'm a very assaultive kind of person as well. Oh, man. Now, this was sent to me by a gay person, I want you to know. Santos is a gay Republican. No one should be surprised he lied. Gay Republicans can't even tell the truth to themselves. Oh, it's a good one. Benjamin writes, Lynn, an item culled from the January 6th committee transcripts yesterday by the New York Times caught my eye. Trump continues to shock. Oh, man, even after all this time, he was inquiring. Right, I saw this too. He was inquiring about whether he could trademark the phrase rigged election. Can you believe that? He wanted, hey, can I trademark rigged election? All he thinks, he's a grifter. He's a grifter. There's money. Can you imagine the T-shirts we could sell, the stuff we could do, but if I own it. And as Ben says, the crassness is staggering. And Ben goes on to say, I know a little bit about trademark law, and you can't trademark a spoken phrase like that any more than he has a trademark on "you're fired." I'm often blown away, though, by what people do attempt to trademark and sometimes are successful at. But Jonathan writes, I've always pronounced nihilism to rhyme with annihilate. They are related terms. Are they? I guess they are. I'm looking at them and they do look like cousins. And he says, now go hitch your wagon to a star. There it is. Okay, so nihilism. I've always said nihilist. I'm going to make a change or try. It's hard to change because I still do ideologue instead of, I think, ideologue or ideologue. I think I do ideologue because I think of anyone who has an ideology that is like sacrosanct. I think of them as idiots. So it just seems like ideologue is closer to idiot to me. But who knows? Is that it? I think that's it. God, sorry, you guys. I mean, I'm sure many of you sent those things quite early in the show, and I did not see them because there was some failure on the part of my computer. What else we got, Cullen? Well, there was I can't think. I'm so still sick about DeMar Hamlin. I'm not praying for him. I don't pray. I'm hoping. And there's so many people praying for him that if prayer works, maybe we'll get somewhere. I don't know. And then the more I see of him, God, or hear of him, damn. But anyway, there was this Kurt Streeter who writes for the sports section of the New York Times. He, like so many writing these, trying to come to terms with their love of football and their understanding of its violence. And just a few things he said that I'll share with you if you hadn't seen it. It's easy to be drawn to this potent mix of symphonic creativity and aggression. It is not so easy. Step up, stand up, and honestly admit that each game we watch hovers on a razor's edge. During every play, every game of what now has become an interminably long season. It's 17 games now, an expansion made by the NFL, obviously for pure profit. The athletes on the field during every play and every game are one step away from physical horror. That horror can take a toll slowly and well after a career is over, as we have seen time and time again with former players bowed by brain damage. And then he finds a silver lining in football. And I hadn't thought of this, but it is true. He says, in a nation divided, football remains a unifying force, a magnet drawing every race, orientation, class, political perspective. And there is certainly good in that. And yet, he says, we can no longer love the game while feigning ignorance about its costs. These players are not avatars or objects, which is how they are too often viewed. They are young men who are putting their lives on the line for our entertainment. The circus will go on. It must. There are billions of dollars at stake, and most fans don't care enough about the welfare of these entertainers. Over the course of the next few decades, many of the present-day NFL heroes will be struggling with diminished minds damaged by the game they played. But by then, there will be a new crop of gladiators to distract us from the ever unfolding calamity. I dare you to argue with any of it. God. Well, I think that's it, guys. Thank you very much for being there, and I'll talk to you again tomorrow. Bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.